back to our series of 5 short videos called Did You Know?, where we're talking through some of the important things that we sometimes forget and need to hold on to. And remembering these 5 things is so important for boosting our well-being and leaving us feeling good.
I remember when I was sitting an important exam at school and I didn't read the question properly because I was in a rush to start writing the essay. But because I was in a rush, I ended up writing an essay which didn't even answer the question at all, which means that I didn't end up getting a very good mark for the exam. What did I learn from this mistake? Well, I learned that it is so important to make sure that you read the exam question carefully, taking your time and not rushing. Ever since then, I have made sure that I have taken the time when sitting the exam to underline key words in the essay question, to make sure that I give myself an extra minute to make sure that what I'm writing on is actually answering the question.
Making mistakes feels horrible and it can leave us feeling guilty, silly, or a little bit embarrassed. But it is okay and totally normal to make mistakes, especially at your age when you're still learning and growing. You're probably going to try so many new things and make a whole load of mistakes. And it's easy to feel frustrated, but it's important to remember that failure always feels better than regret. In other words, it's better to try and get it wrong than to not try because you're scared of failing.
We can learn from mistakes. When we make a mistake, it can feel like the worst thing in the world. But the thing about mistakes is they're not final. When we make a mistake, we can start again. We can think about what didn't work last time. We can ask those around us for their help and advice, their tips and ideas. And it gives us an opportunity to try things again, but do them differently, thinking about what we've learned from those previous mistakes.
Secondly, things don't have to be perfect. It's also important to remember that just because things aren't perfect, it doesn't mean that they're not good. I love baking, as you might be able to tell, and often when I bake a cake, the recipe has a picture of the perfect cake. Perhaps it maybe looks a little bit like this, the perfect cake, what exactly it should look like. But I know that often what comes out of the oven doesn't look exactly like this. The cake might be a little bit lopsided or the icing might not be quite straight enough. Does that mean that I throw the whole thing away? No, definitely not. The cake is still super yummy, and just because it's not perfect, it doesn't mean that it's not really, really good.
Last summer, the England football team made it to the finals of the Euros, and the game came down to penalties. After a long and tense game, England missed their penalties and lost the game. One player said, "This is by far the worst I've felt in my whole career." That must feel like a pretty big mistake, to miss a penalty that the whole country is watching and hoping that you score. Marcus Rashford, one of the players who missed a penalty, said this: "My penalty was not good enough and it should have gone in, but I will never apologise for who I am and where I came from. I felt no prouder moment than wearing the 3 lions and seeing my family cheer me on." Even though he was disappointed in himself and people online were saying lots of awful things, Marcus Rashford knew that that one mistake didn't define who he was, and that one moment didn't take away all the amazing things that he had done or who he was. Take a look at this quote by Kid President. "If at first you don't succeed, you're normal, because making mistakes is a normal part of life." So our 3 reminders about mistakes are that we learn from our mistakes, that things don't have to be perfect, and that mistakes don't define who we are. So why don't you turn to the person next to you and tell them which of those 3 reminders you want to remember for the rest of the day. So remember that everybody makes mistakes. This video has been one in a series of 5 videos, so don't forget to like and subscribe and go check out our other videos in this series.